Hey Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Grandpop coming to you from the living room in Jacksonville Beach. I thought I had recorded this, and I went into the YouTube page and it said 14 seconds long. Well, trust me, it's a lot longer than 14 seconds. So I'm re recording it, and then I'll drop this in right afterwards. Sorry if you started reading the end of the book and went like, oh crap, it's a short ending. So this is The Little Prince, chapters 22 to 27. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the switchman. What are you doing here, said the little prince. I sort travelers in packages of thousands, said the switchman. I send the trains taking them, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left. And a flashing light, rumbling like thunder, shook the switching cabin. Now, back then, they had these guys out there, and they would actually use switches to physically move the track so that a train, like, say it's going towards the east, and there's a north-south crossing, you could turn it because there's no steering wheel on the train. It goes on the tracks. It just goes. It goes frontwards or backwards. And they would actually use this big lever and switch the train to get it to go off to the left and then go north. Now they do all that stuff with computers. So there were actually dudes out there on the tracks doing this stuff before, but now it's just some guy sitting or a woman sitting in a switch house someplace, and they're just doing it on a computer. It still moves the track and creates this thing off to the side for it to go on to get onto the other track, but it's just not done by hand now. They are in a hurry, said the little prince. What are they looking for? The locomotive man ignores himself, said the switchman. Then in the opposite direction, a second flashing light rumbled. Are they already coming back? Asked the little prince. They're not the same, said the switchman. This is an interchange. So just like interchanges of like two different highways, these are interchanges of two different railroad tracks. Weren't they happy where they were? We are never happy where we are, said the switchman. And the thunder of a third flashing light rumbled. Are they pursuing the first travelers? Asked the little prince. They aren't pursuing anything, said the switchman. They sleep in there, or they yawn. Only children crash their noses against the windows. Only children know what they are looking for, said the little prince. They waste time for a rag doll. Chapter 23. And remember, XXII, so 2 10s and 3 1s. 23. Roman numerals. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the seller. He was a seller of sophisticated pills that appease the thirsty. We swallow one every week, and we no longer feel the need to drink. Why are you selling it? Said the little prince. It's a large saving of time, said the dealer. The experts calculated. We save 53 minutes per week. And what happens to the 53 minutes? We do whatever we want. If, the little prince said to himself, if I had 53 minutes to spend, I would walk slowly to a fountain. What do you do at a fountain? You get a drink. 24. We were on the 8th day of my breakdown in the desert, and I had listened to the story of the merchant while drinking the last drop of my supply of water. So he's listening to a story about a guy who sells pills, and if you take the pill, you don't have to drink water. And he's drinking the last drop. He's in the desert. He's going to die of thirst soon. Ah, I said to the little prince, they are very beautiful, your memories, but I have not fixed my plane yet. I have nothing more to drink, and I would be happy too if I could walk slowly to a fountain. My friend the fox said, my little fellow, it's not about the fox anymore. Why? Because we are going to die of thirst. He did not understand my reasoning. He replied, it's nice to have a friend, even if one is going to die. I am very glad to have had a friend fox. He does not measure the danger, I say to myself. He is never hungry nor thirsty. A bit of sun is enough. But he looked at me and replied to my thought, I'm also thirsty. Let's look for a water well. I made a gesture of fatigue. It is absurd to look for a water well randomly in the vastness of the desert. However, we started walking. I guess he figures, look, I got nothing better to do. Got this little magical guy here with me, and he's from this other planet, so let's go find ourselves a well. When we had walked for hours in silence, night fell, and the stars began lighting. I could see them like in a dream, with a little fever because of my thirst. The words of the little prince danced in my memory. Are you so thirsty too? I asked him. But he did not answer my question. He simply said, water can also be good for the heart. I did not understand his answer, but I was silent. I really knew that it was not necessary to ask him. He was tired. He sat down. I sat down with him, and after the silence, he spoke again. The stars are beautiful because of a flower that we cannot see. I replied, of course, and I looked without speaking, the folds of sand beneath the moon. The desert is beautiful, he added. And that was true. I always liked the desert. We sit on a sand dune. We don't see anything. We don't hear anything. And yet something radiates in silence. What embellishes the desert, said the little prince, is that it hides a water well somewhere. I was surprised to suddenly understand this mysterious radiation of the sand. When I was a little boy, I lived in an old house, and the legend told that a treasure was buried there. Of course, nobody knew how to find it, or maybe not even look for it, but it enchanted this house. My house was hiding a secret in the depths of its heart. Yes, I said to the little prince, whether a house, stars, or the desert, what makes their beauty is invisible. I'm happy, he said, that you agree with my fox. As the little prince fell asleep, I took him in my arms and returned to my journey. I was touched. It seemed I was carrying a fragile treasure. It even seemed that there was nothing more fragile on earth. I looked in the light of the moon. This pale forehead, these closed eyes, these strands of hair shaking in the wind. And I said to myself, what I see here is just a bark. The most important is invisible. As his half-open sketched a half smile, I said to myself again, what touches me deeply about this little sleeping prince is his loyalty to a flower. It is the image of a rose that radiates in him like a flame of a lamp. Even when he sleeps. And I felt him even more fragile, if weaker still. We must protect the lamps. A gust of wind can light them off. And walking this way, I found the water well at sunrise. Chapter 25, XXV. X's are 10s and V's are 5s. Men, said the little prince, they shovel in the rapids, but they don't know what they are looking for. Then they become agitated and go round and round. And he added, it is not worth it. The water wells we had reached did not resemble the Saharan wells. Saharan wells are simple holes dug in the sand. This one looked like a village well, but there was no village there, and I thought I was dreaming. It's strange, I said to the little prince. Everything is ready, the pulley, the bucket, and the rope. He laughed, touched the rope, and made the pulley move. And the pulley groaned like an old weather vane when the wind has long slept. And there it is, there's the well. So this is like the kind of well that they would have on some farm in the Midwest here in the United States. Listen, said the little prince. We awake this well and it sings. I didn't want him to make effort. Let me do it, I said. It's too heavy for you. Slowly, I hoisted the bucket up to the edge. I put it standing. In my ears was the song of the pulley, and in water, which still trembled, I saw the sun shaking. I'm thirsty for this water, said the little prince. Give me to drink. And I understood what he was looking for. I lifted the bucket up to his lips. He drank with eyes closed. It was sweet like a party. This water was something more than food. It was born of the walk under the stars, the song of the pulley, the effort of my arms. It was good for the heart as a gift. When I was a little boy, the light of the Christmas tree, the music of midnight mass, the sweetness of the smiles made all the radiance of the Christmas gift I received. Men in your planet, said the little prince, cultivate 5,000 roses in the same garden, and they do not find what they are looking for. They do not find it, I replied, and yet what they are looking for could be found in a single rose or in a little bit of water. Of course, I replied. And the little prince added, but the eyes are blind. They must look for it with the heart. I drank. I was breathing well. Sand in the morning is honey color. I was also happy with that honey color. Why did he say I would have trouble? You need to keep your promise, the little prince said softly, and again he was sitting with me. What promise? You know, a muzzle for my sheep. I'm responsible for this flower. So if you remember, the first thing that he did was tell the guy to draw him a sheep, and then he wanted a muzzle for it, so it wouldn't eat the flour. I take my drawing drafts out of my pocket. The little prince saw them and said, laughing, "Your baobabs, they look a bit like cabbage." And baobabs are these trees that are on this planet that mess up everything. Ah, I was so proud of the baobabs. Your fox, its ears, they look a bit like horns, and they are too long. And he laughed again. You're unfair, little fellow. I only knew how to draw that closed boas and open boas. Ah, that's fine, he said. Children know. So I drew a muzzle with a pencil, and my heart was tightened when I gave it. You have projects that I don't know. But he did not reply. He told me, you know my fall on earth. The anniversary will be tomorrow. Then, after the silence, he said again, I fell near here. And he blushed. And again, without understanding why, I felt a weird pain. However, a question occurred to me. So it is not coincidence that in the morning I first met you, 8 days ago, you were walking like this, alone, 1,000 miles from all inhabited regions. Did you return to the point of your fall? The little prince blushed again. And I added hesitantly, perhaps because of the anniversary? The little prince blushed again. He never answered the questions, but when we blush, it means yes, didn't it? Oh, I told him, I'm afraid. But he answered me, you must work now. You have to restart your machine. I will wait here. Return tomorrow evening. But I was not reassured. I remembered the fox. We might cry a little if we let ourselves be tamed. Chapter 26. Next to the water well, there is a ruin of an old stone wall. When I came back from my work the next night, I saw by far my little prince seated up there, legs dangling, and I heard him talking. So, don't you remember, he said, this isn't quite here. Certainly another voice answered him, since he replied, if, it's a good day, but this is not the place. I continued my walk to the wall. I could neither see nor hear anyone. Yet the little prince replied again, of course, you will see where my trace in the sand begins. You don't have to wait for me. I'll be there tonight. I was 20 meters from the wall, and I still could not see anything. The little prince says after a pause, do you have the right poison? Are you sure it will not make me suffer for a long time? I stopped with a lump in my throat, but I still did not understand. Now go away, he said. I want to go back down. Then I lowered my eyes toward the bottom of the wall and jumped. It was there, standing on the front of the little prince, one of those yellow snakes that you put to death in 30 seconds. Remember he had the snake on his leg? While searching my pocket to get my revolver, I started running, but noise that I made, the snake slowly sank into the sand as a jet of water that dies, and without too much hurry, it slipped between the stones with a slight sound of metal. I reached the wall just in time to receive in my arms my fellow little prince, pale as snow. What is the story here? Now you are speaking with snakes? I untied his eternal golden scarf. And although that's what you were dressed as, this little boy here. You were the little prince. You had the green on, and you wouldn't wear your crown, but you had this scarf thing. I wet his forehead and made him drink, and now I did not dare to ask him anything. He looked at me seriously and put his arms around my neck. I felt his heartbeat like the one of a dying bird when it's shot with a rifle. He said to me, I'm glad you found what was missing from your machine. You're going to be able to go back home. How do you know? I just come to tell him that, against all the expectations, I managed to do my work. He did not answer to my question, but he added, today, I'm going home as well. Then, melancholic, and remember, melancholy is sadness, so sadly, it's farther. It's much more difficult. And there he is, and that's, I guess, the star that he lives on. And there's a single flower, which the flower is actually on the star, but I felt that something extraordinary was happening. I tightened him in my arms like a small child. Excuse me. However, it seemed he was falling into an abyss, and there was nothing I could do to hold him. He had a serious look, lost, far away. I have your sheep, and I have a box for the sheep, and I have the muzzle. And he smiled with melancholy. Starting to lose my voice. I waited for a long time. I felt he was warming gradually. Little fellow, you were scared. He was afraid, of course, but he laughed softly. I will be much more afraid tonight. Again, I felt frozen by the feeling of the irreparable. So something that can't be repaired, something that can't be fixed. And I realized that I could not stand the idea of never hearing that laugh again. For me, it was like a fountain in the desert. Little fellow, I still want to hear you laughing. But he told me, tonight it will be 1 year. My star will be right over the place where I fell last year. Little fellow, isn't a bad dream this story of snake and meeting and star? But he did not answer my question. He told me, what is important? It is not seen. Sure, it is like the flower. If you love a flower that is in a star, it's sweet to look at the sky at night. All stars are flourished. Sure, it's the same for water. The one you gave me to drink was like music because of the pulley and the rope. You remember? It was good. Sure. At night you will look at the stars. My planet, it's too small for me to show you where mine is. Tonight, don't come. So he's telling him not to come to the thing, not to come back. I won't leave you. I'll look bad. I'll look like dying. That's it. Don't come to see it. It's not worth it. I won't leave you. However, he was worried. I tell you that it's also because of the snake. It doesn't need to bite you. Snakes, they are bad. It may bite for pleasure. I won't leave you. But something comforted him. It's true that they have no more venom for their second bite. That night I didn't see it setting in motion. He escaped without noise. When I managed to meet it again, it was moving decidedly and quickly. It, it told me only, here you are. And he took my hands. However, he was still concerned. You were wrong. You will have trouble. I'll look as if I were dead, and it won't be true. I was silent. You understand, it's too far. I can't take that body away. It's too heavy. I was silent, but it will be like an old bark abandoned. Old barks are not sad. I was silent. He was a little discouraged, but he made another effort. It will be nice, you know. I will also look at the stars. All stars will be water wells with rusty pulley. All stars will pour for me a drink. I was silent. It would be so funny. You'll have 500 million bells. I will have 500 million of fountains. And he was silent too because he was crying. It is there. Let me do a step alone. And he sat down because he was afraid. He still said, you know, my flower. I'm responsible for it. And it is so weak. And it's so naive. It has 4 insignificant thorns to protect her from the world. And here's the little guy sitting there talking. I sat down because I could no longer stand. He said, that's it. That's all. He hesitated a little, and then he stood up. He took a step. I could not move. There was only a yellow flash near his ankle. He stayed a moment motionless. He did not cry out. He fell gently like a tree. It didn't even make any noise due to the sand. So I guess the snake bit him. Although you never really know. And now, of course, it's been already 6 years. I have never told this story yet. The comrades who have seen again me were glad to see me alive. I was sad, but I told them, it's fatigue. Now I am a little comforted. That is to say, not absolutely, but I know that he is back to his planet because at sunrise I have not found her body. It wasn't a body so heavy, and I love listening to the stars at night. It's like 500 million bells. Oh, excuse me. My voice is going to go by the end of this chapter. But now, something extraordinary is happening. The muzzle I drew for the little prince, I forgot to add the leather belt. He will never be able to attach it to the sheep. So I wonder, what happened in his planet? Perhaps the sheep ate the flower. Sometimes I say to myself, probably not. The little prince encases his flower every night under its glass globe, and he watches his sheep. So I'm happy, and all the stars laugh gently. Sometimes I say to myself, once in a while we are distracted, and that's enough. He forgot one night the glass globe, or even the sheep came out silently during the night, so the bells drown in tears. It is a great mystery for for those who also like the little prince. As for me, nothing in the universe is the same if somewhere, we don't know where, a sheep that we do not know did or did not eat a rose. Look at the sky. Ask yourself, the sheep did or did not eat the flower? And you will see how everything changes. And no grown-up will ever understand that it is so important. So I'm thinking that that's the star, and this is where he could look up at the star. It is for me the most beautiful and saddest landscape in the world. That's the same landscape as the one on the previous page, but I drew it once again to show you it well. It is here where the little prince appeared on earth and then disappeared. Look carefully at this landscape to be sure you recognize it if you travel one day to Africa, to the desert. And if you manage to go through it, I beg you, don't rush. Wait a bit just underneath the star. If if then a child comes to you, if he laughs, if he has golden hair, if he does not answer your questions, you will guess who he is. So be nice. Do not make me so sad. Write to me quick, telling me he came back. And that is the end of The Little Prince. And so the story ends. A sad story, but happy story. Grandpa with no voice says, "Peace out, kiddies."